Namaste. My name is Janapati Das, and welcome to my YouTube channel and the reading of Krishna book. We were going to continue with reading more today. Please accept my respects. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual teacher, Jagat Guru. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine. So we are going to start off with some hearing and repeating of the sacred mantras. So please join along. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prithaya Bhutale Srimate Sina Swarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prithaya Bhutale Srimate Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So our last story came to a conclusion of the Shamataka duel, and all's well that ends well. But this story does not end as things go, and we are reading now into the second chapter of the second volume of Krishna book, entitled The Killing of Satrajit and Satadhanva. After Akrura visited Hastinapura and reported the condition of the Pandavas to Krishna, there were further developments. So you recall that Akrura, of course, had been deputed by Krishna to go and check on the Pandavas because the relatives of the Pandavas, Duryodhana, headed by his father Dhritarashtra, and brothers, all the brothers, and the good part of the Kuru dynasty were conspiring against the Pandavas to kill them and so many things. The Pandavas were transferred to a house which was made of shellac and was later on set ablaze, and everyone understood that the Pandavas, along with their mother Kunti, had been killed. So one of the first things that they did, many times that they tried to kill him, Duryodhana had this idea and conspired with his father to send off his cousins, the Pandavas, who were the sons of King Pandu, right? Arjuna, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadev, whose mother was Kunti, Queen Kunti. And they thought, well, why don't we say we're going to send them to this sort of vacation house, in a different village, and honor them for a year, and they can just live and be served and make it look like they're really enjoying. But what we'll do is we'll make this house out of flammable material, and don't let on that we're conspiring, but just try to be all good fortuned. And when they are at the right time, we'll set the house on fire and burn it down and kill them all. So the father, Dhritarashtra, being influenced by his demoniac son, agreed to this and thought this was a great idea. The brother of, now remember, Dhritarashtra was the blind king. His brother Pandu was the original king, but had died in that's a whole other story of why he died. And so Queen Kunti was basically taking care of her 5 children under the supervision of the elders of the Kuru dynasty, including Bhishma Dev and King Dhritarashtra, until they were old enough to take over the kingdom. But Duryodhana, of course, and his brothers were jealous and envious and wanted the kingdom for themselves. And of course, deep down in his heart, the king, probably feeling frustrated that he was blind and not able to be, because he was the eldest, not able to be the king, was, of course, wanting his own son and himself to be in this place. So the other brother was Vidura. He was actually a half-brother because his mother was a maidservant. And that, of course, is another story in the Mahabharata of how Vidura was a very saintly person, a pure devotee. And so he, of course, had the vision to know what was going on, and immediately informed through sort of a secretive language, without letting on that he was telling, he had to protect himself because he was in the minority in the kingdom and was only protected by familial obligations. But they knew that Vidura was very saintly and sided often with the Pandava brothers, so they didn't really like, Duryodhana didn't like Vidura at all, and his brother Dhritarashtra didn't really like him that much either. So it was kind of like, so anyway, Vidura told the brothers and told the family, this is what's going to happen, but don't let on, and Krishna will lay out a plan for you to be able to escape at the proper time. You should he was letting on that you should dig a tunnel underneath the house and just let off the dirt, sort of every day a little bit in the courtyard so nobody will know. So for a year, they dug this tunnel at night time, and during the day they dumped the dirt, but they of course covered the hole. So Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra didn't know, and they were just thinking their plan was going to go through. And so they were staying in this house, pretending like, oh, this is very nice, and da 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 da. So of course, came to the night when they were going to set the house on fire during the nighttime. The tunnel was done, so they were able to escape at night. But by Krishna's arrangement, another mother of a sort of a vagabond mother, drunkards were drinking and partying, and there was a mother and his 5 sons of a similar stature came into the house and passed out in the house. So they set the house on fire, and later they found the skeletons of a female and 5 sons. So they all thought, oh, yeah, we've killed them all, right? But actually, the Pandavas and Mother Kunti escaped through the forest and went into hiding for the first time, right? Later, there would be a 12-year hiatus where they were sent to the forest in the story of Mahabharata. So that's a really wonderful story, but I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I wanted to explain that. So Akrura had gone to see how the Pandavas were and reported back to Krishna that they were being basically, that they had, Krishna knew, of course, that they had escaped, but pretended like him and Balaram were mourning because they thought that the Pandavas were killed. This information was also sent to Lord Krishna and Balaram. After consulting together, they decided to go to Hastinapura to show sympathy to their relatives. Krishna and Balaram certainly knew that the Pandavas could not have been killed in the devastating fire, but in spite of this knowledge, they wanted to go to Hastinapura to take part in the bereavement. On arriving in Hastinapura, Krishna and Balaram first of all went to see Bhishma Dev because he was the chief of the Kuru dynasty, and they saw Vidura, Gandharya, and Drona. Other members of the Kuru dynasty were not sorry because they wanted the Pandavas and their mothers to be killed. So they lay out these people, of course, Bhishma Dev, Vidura, Gandharya. Even Gandharya was kind of a very saintly person, but followed the lead of her husband. Dronacharya, the martial teacher, they're all very kind to their nephews and their students, the Pandavas, because they knew they were saintly. But some of them, like Bhishma Dev and Drona, were obligated by living in the kingdom to sort of like turn the other cheek, or turn the eye the other way, right? Vidura, of course, was not, but he was sort of in a precarious situation. Other members of the Kuru dynasty were not sorry, right, like Dronacharya and Dhritarashtra, because they wanted the Pandavas and their mothers to be killed. But some family members, headed by Bhishma, were actually very sorry for the incident, and Krishna and Balaram expressed equal sorrow without disclosing the actual situation. When Krishna and Balaram were away from the city of Dwarka, there was a conspiracy to take away the Shamataka jewel from Satrajit. So you remember, Satrajit, of course, had the main character, one of the main characters in the last story for dealing with the Shamataka jewel, had the jewel, and of course that jewel was still there, and people were involved in wanting to steal it. Again, still, the chief conspirator was Satadhanva. Along with that, others, Satadhanva wanted to marry Satyabhama, the beautiful daughter of Satrajit. So Satrajit had given, out of sort of like trying to save face, had given his daughter to Krishna. It was a very smart thing to do, but actually Satadhanva wanted to marry her, and that sort of made him envious. Satrajit had promised that he would give his beautiful daughter in charity to various candidates, but later on the decision was changed, and Satyabhama was given to Krishna along with the Shamataka jewel. Satrajit had no desire to give the jewel away, along with his daughter, and Krishna, knowing his mentality, accepted his daughter and returned, and Krishna, knowing his mentality, accepted the daughter but returned the jewel. After getting back the jewel from Krishna, he was satisfied and kept it with him always. But in the absence of Krishna and Balaram, there was a conspiracy by many men, including Akrura and Kritavarma, who were devotees of Lord Krishna, to take the jewel from Satrajit. Akrura and Kritavarma joined the conspiracy because they wanted the jewel for Krishna. They knew that Krishna wanted the jewel and that Satrajit had not delivered it properly. Others joined the conspiracy because they were disappointed in not having the hand of Satyabhama. Some of them incited Satadhanva to kill Satrajit and take away the jewel. The question is generally raised, why did a great devotee like Akrura join this conspiracy, and why did Kritavarma, although a devotee of the Lord, join the conspiracy also? The answer is given by great authorities like Jiva Goswami and others that although Akrura was a great devotee, he was cursed by the inhabitants of Vrindavan because of his taking Krishna away from their midst. Because of his wounding their feelings, Akrura was forced to join the conspiracy declared by sinful men. Similarly, Kritavarma was a devotee, but because of his intimate association with Kamsa, he was also contaminated by sinful reaction, and he also joined the conspiracy. Being inspired by all the members of the conspiracy, Satadhanva one night entered the house of Satrajit and killed him while he was sleeping. Satadhanva was a sinful man of abominable character, and although due to his sinful activities he was not to live for many days, he decided to kill Satrajit while Satrajit was sleeping at home. When he entered the house to kill Satrajit, all the women there began to cry very loudly, but in spite of their great protest, Satadhanva mercilessly butchered Satrajit without hesitation, exactly as a butcher kills an animal in a slaughterhouse. Since Krishna was absent from home, his wife Satyabhama was also present on the night Satrajit was murdered, and she began to cry, my dear father, my dear father, how mercilessly you have been killed." The dead body of Satrajit was not immediately removed for cremation because Satyabhama wanted to go to Krishna in Hastinapura. Therefore, the body was preserved in a tank of oil so that Krishna can come back and see the dead body of Satrajit and take real action against Satadhanva. Satyabhama immediately started for Hastinapura to inform Krishna about the ghastly death of her father. When Krishna was informed by Satyabhama of the murder of his father-in-law, he began to lament like an ordinary man. His great sorrow is, again, a strange thing. Lord Krishna has nothing to do with action and reaction, but because he was playing the part of a human being, he expressed his full sympathy for the bereavement of Satyabhama, and his eyes filled with tears upon hearing about the death of his father-in-law. He thus began to lament, "Oh, what unhappy incidents have taken place." And in this way, both Krishna and Balarama, along with Satyabhama, the wife of Krishna, immediately returned to Dwarka and began to make plans to kill Satadhanva and take away the jewel. Although he was a great outlaw in the city, Satadhanva was still very much afraid of Krishna's power, and thus he became most afraid on Krishna's arrival. So, of course, demons, they're just like, do things, and then they're like, oh, whoa, they get all scared because they realize what they're up against. And Krishna, of course, is a great actor. He plays the part, for the pleasure of his devotees. Understanding Krishna's plan to kill him, he immediately went to take shelter of Kritavarma. But on being approached by him, Kritavarma said, "I shall never be able to offend Lord Krishna and Balaram, because they are not ordinary persons. They are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can be saved from death if he has offended Balaram and Krishna? No one can be saved from their wrath." Kritavarma further said that Kamsa, although powerful and assisted by many demons, could not be saved from the wrath of Krishna. And what to speak of Jarasandha, who had been defeated by Krishna 18 times, and in each time had to return from the fighting in disappointment. So these are like powerful kings, Kamsa, Jarasandha, Ravana, they're extremely powerful. The demigods can't even fight against them. Hiranyakashipu, but Krishna, that's easy. When Satadhanva was refused help by Kritavarma, he went to Akrura and implored him to help. Akrura also replied, "Both Balaram and Krishna are themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and anyone who knows their unlimited strength would never dare to offend them or fight with them. He further informs Satadhanva, Krishna and Balaram are so powerful that simply by willing, they are creating the whole cosmic manifestation, maintaining it and dissolving it. So Krishna, of course, expands into different kinds of energies and different manifestations as Lord Brahma, as Vishnu, the different Vishnu forms that maintain the universes or enter into atoms, and dissolving it, of course, as Lord Shiva. This is all done by Krishna indirectly, right? Unfortunately, persons who are bewildered by the illusory energy cannot understand the strength of Krishna, although the whole cosmic manifestation is fully under his control. He cited as an example that Krishna, even at the age of 7 years, had lifted Govardhan Hill and had continued to hold up the mountain for 7 days, exactly as a child carries a small umbrella. Akrura plainly informs Satadhanva that he would always offer his most respectful obeisances to Krishna, the supersoul of everything that is created, and the original cause of all causes. When Akrura also refused to give him shelter, Satadhanva decided to deliver to the hands of Akrura the Shambhataka jewel. Then, riding up on a horse which could run at a great speed and up to 400 miles at a stretch, he fled the city. So he steals this jewel, and then he's like, whoa, okay, no, take the jewel, I'm getting out of here. And of course, runs away, When Krishna and Balaram were informed of the flight of Satadhanva, they mounted their chariot, its flag marked by the picture of Garuda, and followed immediately. Krishna was particularly angry with Satadhanva and wanted to kill him because he had killed Satrajit, a superior personality. Satrajit happened to be the father-in-law of Krishna, and it is an injunction in the Shastras that anyone who has rebelled against a superior person or guru drua must be punished in proportion to the volume of offense. Because Satadhanva had killed his father-in-law, Krishna was determined to kill him by any means. Satadhanva's horse became exhausted and died near a garden house in Mithila. Unable to take help of the horse, Satadhanva began to run with great speed. In order to be fair to Satadhanva, Krishna and Balaram also left their chariot and began to follow Satadhanva on foot. So this is a Kshatriya code, right? You never fight your opponent. If they have like a mace, you have to, and you have a more powerful weapon, you have to put down that weapon and fight with the mace. If they don't have any weapons, then you have to fight by fists. So in this case, he's running by foot, they get down and they run on feet. They could just easily catch him with a chariot, but they just do by upholding that Kshatriya code. Whilst both Satadhanva and Krishna were running on foot, Krishna took his disc and cut off the head of Satadhanva. After Satadhanva was killed, Krishna searched through his clothing for the Shambhataka jewel, but he could not find it. He then returned to Balaram and said, "We have killed this person uselessly because the jewel is not to be found on his body." Sri Balaram suggested the jewel might have been kept in custody of another man in Dwarka, so you'd better return and search it out. Sri Balaram expressed his desire to remain in Mithila city for some days because he enjoyed an intimate friendship with the king. Therefore, Krishna returned to Dwarka and Balaram entered the city of Mithila. When the king of Mithila saw the arrival of Sri Balaram in his city, he became most pleased and received the Lord with great honor and hospitality. He presented many valuable presents to Balaramaji in order to seek his pleasure. At this time, Sri Balaram lived in the city for several years as the honored guest of the king of Mithila, Janaka Maharaj. During this time, Duryodhana, the eldest son of Dhritarashtra, took the opportunity of coming to Balaram and learning from him the art of fighting with the club. So Dhritarashtra was Duryodhana, even though he was a staunch enemy of the Pandavas, did learn mace from Balaram. And so that was a very interesting pastime because Krishna was favoring Bhima and Balaram sort of favored Duryodhana. He actually favored both, but he was he couldn't choose in the battle, so he didn't actually take part in the battle of Kurukshetra, but left and went on pilgrimage because he was like, I can't choose sides because I have people I like on both sides. After killing Satadhanva, Krishna returned to Dwarka, and he also knew that his brother Krishna was fighting with the chariot driver for Arjuna, so he couldn't fight against him. So it was sort of like, you know. And in order to please his wife Satadhanva, he informed her of the death of Satadhanva, the killer of her father, but he also informed her that the jewel had not been found in his possession. Then, according to religious principles, Krishna, along with Satadhanva, performed all kinds of ceremonies in honor of the death of his father-in-law. In that ceremony, all the friends and relatives of the family joined together. Akrura and Kritavarma, who were prominent members in the conspiracy to kill Satrajit, had incited Satadhanva to kill him. But when they heard of the death of Satadhanva at Krishna's hand, and then when they heard also that Krishna had returned to Dwarka, they both immediately left Dwarka. The citizens of Dwarka felt themselves threatened with pestilence and natural disturbances due to the absence of Akrura from the city. This was a kind of superstition because while Lord Krishna was present, there could not be any pestilence, famine, or natural disturbances. But in the absence of Akrura, there were some disturbances in Dwarka. Once in the province of Kashi, within the barricade of Varanasi, there was a severe drought and practically no rainfall. At that time, the king of Kashi arranged the marriage of his daughter known as Gandhini with Svapalka, the father of Akrura. This was done by the king of Kashi on the advance of an astrologer, and it so happened that after the marriage of the king's daughter with Svapalka, there was sufficient rainfall in the province. Due to the supernatural power of Svapalka, his son Akrura was also considered equally powerful, and people were under the impression that wherever Akrura or his father remained, there would be no natural disturbance, famine, or drought. That kingdom is considered to be happy where there is no famine, pestilence, or excessive heat and cold, and where people are happy mentally, spiritually, and bodily. As soon as there is some disturbance, people consider the cause to be due to the absence of an auspicious personality in the city. Thus, there was a rumor that because of the absence of Akrura, inauspicious things were happening. After the departure of Akrura, some of the elderly members of the town began to perceive that there were also inauspicious signs due to the absence of the Shambhataka jewel. When Lord Sri Krishna heard these rumors spread by the people, he decided to summon Akrura from the kingdom of Kashi. Akrura was Krishna's uncle, therefore when he came back to Dwarka, Lord Krishna first of all welcomed him as befitting a superior person. Krishna is the supersoul in everyone's heart. He knows everything going on in everyone's heart. He knew everything that had happened in connection with Akrura's conspiracy with Satadhanva. Therefore, he smilingly began to address Akrura. Addressing him as the chief among magnificent men, Krishna said, "My dear uncle, it is already known to me that the Shambhataka jewel was left by Satadhanva with you. Presently, there is no direct claimant of the Shambhataka jewel, for King Satrajit has no male issue. His daughter, Satadhanva, is not very anxious for this jewel, yet her expected son, as grandson of Satrajit, would, after performing the regulative principles of inheritance, be the legal claimant of the jewel." Lord Krishna indicated by this statement that Satadhanva was already pregnant and that her son would be the real claimant for the jewel and would certainly take the jewel from him. Krishna continued, "This jewel is so powerful that no ordinary man is able to keep it. I know that you are very pious in activities, so there is no objection to the jewel being kept with you. There is one difficulty, and that is that my elder brother Sri Balaram does not believe my version that the jewel is with you. I therefore request you, O large-hearted one, to show me the jewel before my other relatives, so that they may be pacified. You cannot deny that the jewel is with you because from various kinds of rumors we can understand that you have enhanced your opulence and are performing sacrifices on an altar made of solid gold." It's kind of a little obvious. The properties of the jewel were known. Where the jewel remained, it would produce for the keeper almost 9 mounds of pure gold daily. Akrura was getting gold in that proportion and was distributing it very profusely at sacrificial performances. Lord Krishna cited Akrura's lavishly spending gold as a positive evidence of his possessing the Shambhataka jewel. When Lord Krishna, in friendly terms and in sweet language, impressed Akura about the real fact, and Akura understood that nothing could be concealed from the knowledge of Sri Krishna, he brought the valuable jewel, shining like the sun and covered by cloth, and presented it before Krishna. Lord Krishna took the Shavataka jewel in his hand and showed it to all his relatives and friends present there, and then again returned the jewel to Akura in their presence, so that they would know that the jewel was actually being kept by Akura in Dwarka city. This story of the Shavataka jewel is very significant. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that anyone who hears the story of the Shavataka jewel or describes it or simply remembers it will be free from all kinds of defamation and the reactions of all impious activities, and thus will attain the highest perfectional condition of peace. It's just true about all the stories of Krishna. So it's good to remember, repeat, and listen to the Krishna stories. This is called Krishna Katha. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, second chapter of Krishna, the killing of Satrajit and Satadhanva. And that is all for today. We'll continue with another story next time. Thank you very much for joining in, and let's chant. Krishna Vristaya Putale Vivante Sida Swayupananda Namam Sayitin Namini Thank you very much. That's all for today. Remember to like and subscribe on my channel and share the videos. And we will see you next time. Namaste.